Welcome to Restoring Men in History. Charlie Kirk Memorial Service. It's been pretty amazing. The vigils, fraternities putting up signs all over. This man had an impact. God worked through Charlie Kirk. We're going to give you some clips from the memorial service. I just went through a bunch for you today. And there's some good clips. We're going to give you a couple of clips of Charlie. 73,000 people, I think, showed up. The stadium held 63,400 to 73,000 if they expanded it. New York Post article said about 200,000 people showed up. That's having an impact, right? I mean, that is having an amazing impact. That's what he wanted, right? He wanted to be remembered for what? Courage of his faith. And boy, he is remembered. Charlie Kirk is remembered. And over 100 million people streamed it. So let's go to the first clip of Charlie himself. Supposedly this was hours before, and this is pretty amazing what he said hours before he was shot. Go.
One of my favorite verses, though, is Romans 8:28, which it says that God works all things for good for those who love him. It's a very freeing and liberating verse for those of us that are Christians, because we believe that when things can be really bad, God is working it for his good, his perfect and pleasing will, which is a very, very hard teaching when you come across business closures or staff layoffs. But it's very liberating that God is working all things towards an ultimate good. So I love that, and it kind of is very freeing that I don't have to be in charge of everything. And there is a God, and I am not him, and I surrender to his will.
Amazing he mentioned that verse, and look what happened. God has used it for good. Look at the impact he's had. Over 100 million people streamed that. He wanted to be known for the courage of his faith. He's remembered for that. God used it for good. And look at the impact. Look at the faces in the crowd. I don't think we'll put them up, but if you remember the faces in the crowd, I remember looking at the faces in the crowd. Tears. Charlie moved people. He resonated with them. You could tell all those people not only showed up, they were moved visibly. The speakers were moved. Charlie touched people. He touched hearts. He touched minds, and he touched souls. And I read different tweets of people going back to church, going to church for the first time, opening their Bibles. That's having an impact that he wanted to have. That's the kind of impact Charlie Kirk wanted to have, and he had it. God worked through Charlie Kirk. And I think he might want us to read that quote. He's talking about Romans 8:28, so we'll just read it really fast. And we know that God causes all things to work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. That's what he was talking about. Supposedly hours before he died. Isn't that amazing how God works? God used him. Another verse that comes to mind is Genesis 50:20. As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good in order to bring about this present result, to keep many people alive. Charlie Kirk had an enormous impact on people, and he moved them. So we're going to go through some of the moments now. Let's go to the second clip. Senator Marco Rubio, go.
Came to me and said she had met this very impressive young man, and he was going to start this group to go on college campuses and try to convince young Americans that ours is the greatest country in the history of the world, and that Marxism was bad. And I remember thinking back then, I'm going to admit to you guys, I was a little skeptical. I said, college campuses, you're going to do that? Why don't you start somewhere easier, like, for example, communist Cuba, you know? But my skepticism was proven wrong. In place after place over the last 12, 14, 16 years, we've seen this renaissance. Understand where we were at that time in our history. Understand where we are still today in many places, where young Americans are actively told that everything that they were taught, that all the foundations that made our society and our civilization so grand, they were all wrong, they were all evil, that marriage is oppressive, that children are a burden, that America is a source of evil, not of good in the world. And here was this voice that inspired a movement in which young Americans were told that is not true. The highest calling we are called to is to be in a successful marriage and to raise productive children.
Great and funny story, right? And Charlie Kirk had what? The courage to do what? To go on college campuses. How many people do you think believed him at the beginning? Here's this 18-year-old. He says, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And he had the courage to go in that arena and stand for young people. Why did he do it? So that you could love America, know God and hear truth. He risked for God and you. Douglas MacArthur said, no man is entitled to the blessings of freedom unless he be vigilant in its preservation. Charlie Kirk was vigilant. If you like this subject, subscribe, comment, and like. Thank you. Let's go on to the next clip of Senator Marco Rubio.
And a movement that taught them that ours was not a great country, but the greatest, most exceptional nation that has ever existed in the history of all of mankind. And that it's worth fighting for, it's worth defending, it's worth preserving, and it's worth passing on to the next generation. This was the mission and the work of Charlie Kirk. And a couple things that stand out about him. He led this movement, but he did so with incredible knowledge. It's unbelievable how much he knew.
So he wanted you to love America. Charlie Kirk loved America. He loved the Constitution. And he wanted you to have that love so you could have happiness. He wanted you to know how exceptional America was and not to take freedom for granted because it can go away fast. To preserve it, to restore America, we must also restore the Constitution. And who's it up to? It's up to us. And now you can fight peacefully and lawfully for these ideas. Let's go to the next clip.
Incredible knowledge. Let me tell you that one of the last messages I had with him was just a few days before his passing, where he wrote me from overseas, I'm in South Korea, I have many concerns I want to share with you when I get back. He was constantly expanding his horizons, but he just didn't have knowledge. He had wisdom, an uncanny amount of wisdom for a man as young as he was. Wisdom that sometimes it takes a lifetime to accumulate. He had it in just 31 years.
Now this is great because Marco Rubio talks about something we believe is so important at RMH, wisdom and virtue. Wisdom and virtue. Great story. Charlie Kirk read, studied, and prepared, but he had wisdom and virtue. Country needs both. We want liberty. What did Edmund Burke say in Reflections on the Revolution in France? He said this, but what is liberty without wisdom and without virtue? It is the greatest of all possible evils, for it is folly, vice, and madness without tuition or restraint. Edmund Burke. The country needs wisdom, virtue, and principles, not just the Constitution. Charlie talked a lot about family. Where do you get your values and virtues from? You get your virtues from your family, right, in God. Some may get it from other areas, but Charlie was talking about God and family. Father's the leader, the mother's there, the family. You get it from that, and it needs to be taught by the family in the home. John Adams stated, our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. You can teach that right in the home. He was trying to give you the why. Love America. Rubio went on to say he engaged with those with whom he disagreed with. And how did he do it? He did it respectfully and peacefully. Went out and changed hearts and minds and souls. Rubio said he was bold. You got to be bold, men, right? He had the knowledge. He studied the Bible. He studied the documents, and he was prepared to serve. So he brought God and virtues to campus and America. Let's go on to the next clip.
I've said, but look around this place. There's 100-something thousand people here. The President of the United States is here. His entire cabinet is here. Television outlets and media outlets from all over the world are covering this. I just came from overseas, and every country I stopped, they gave us their condolences for his passing. Impactful. In just 31 years of life, he made a difference. He mattered, and he will matter now more than he ever has before.
So here was this guy with an idea, and he goes around. How many people do you think believed him at first? 18 years old, and he went out and he did what he said, and he made it happen. And guess what, men? You can do that too. You can have an impact. He had an impact. You can have an impact. He made a difference. You can make a difference, men. You can make things happen. He mattered, and so can you. You can matter to your friends. You can matter to your family. You can matter to the stranger at McDonald's. You can matter today. You can have an impact and make a difference. This can be your moment in history to have an impact and leave something better than when you got here and you arrived. Let's go on to the next clip.
How do you remember? This is a memorial service. It's to honor him. How do you best remember it? I'll take the liberty of saying what I think we can best do. Look, I think he had a tremendous impact on young Americans in general. I think he had a very special and direct impact on young men in this country. That's one of the greatest developments I've seen. It's been very positive. I think we remember him for that.
So you can see it. He brought in the vote. Trump mentioned it to him. He brought in the men. And he moved them, and he resonated with many, many different people, men and women, but he also resonated with men. And he brought them out to vote for Trump. Why did he do it? He wanted you men to have a better life. And he thought family and God were vastly important to you having a meaningful life. So he brought those ideas to you, and he brought God to you. Next, go on to the next part. Clip.
There was nothing he was putting off. There was nothing that was too hard or too painful, or nothing that he just felt like he didn't want to do it. He left this world without regrets. He did 100% of what he could every day.
So let me say this. If you died tomorrow or today, what would you regret? What have you not done, men? What would you like to do? What do you need to do? What do you need to accomplish as men? What would you regret? What regrets would you have? He left with no regrets. Can you say that today? He died. He did 100% before he died of what he could do every day. Are you doing that? Now, some things can be simple too. You can have big goals, small goals, right? You can have an impact on somebody tomorrow, today, by saying, maybe by just smiling, maybe by saying hello, maybe by calling out their name. A lot of people are going through hard times. You can make it a little bit better maybe for them by just calling out their name, saying hello. Make someone else's day. Think about your friends. We are not promised tomorrow. What about other things like people you love? Have you told them you love them today? Because you might not have tomorrow. Tell the people you love them. Give someone an honest compliment. Give people you love honest compliments. And ask yourself this today. Who can you build up today? Who can you serve? Build up someone else. Let's go on to the next clip.
Charlie passionately wanted to reach and save the lost boys of the West. The young men who feel like they have no direction, no purpose, no faith, and no reason to live. The men wasting their lives on distractions, and the men consumed with resentment, anger, and hate. Charlie wanted to help them. He wanted them to have a home with Turning Point USA.
Men do need a purpose. We say it all the time. If you can find one larger than yourself, I think that's even better. What is your purpose? How are you using your time? Are you using it to move forward and in productive ways? How are you using your time, gentlemen? Are you using it in productive ways? Are you wasting it with distractions? That's what she's talking basically about here, and we talk about it. What will move you forward? Always ask yourself how you're doing and how you're using your talents, your energy, your money, and most importantly, your time. How are you using your time every day? And we're going to go on to this next moment, which everyone was talking about, a very powerful, moving moment by Erica Kirk. Go.
My husband, Charlie, he wanted to save young men just like the one who took his life. That young man, on the cross, our Savior said, "Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do." That man, that young man, I forgive him.
Powerful. What do you see there? A woman of great hope, faith, and love, and courage. Powerful, moving, and it's amazing she could do this so well, right? Someone once said courage is what it takes to stand up and speak. She had that courage. She had that faith, and she had that hope. Courage is also what it takes to sit down and listen. Both of them had that. Charlie Kirk had that courage to stand up and speak. She had that courage to stand up and speak. Charlie Kirk went out to college campuses. So I want to end with his courage on college campuses and this clip. Let's go to this clip. Go.
It's usually a college campus against Charlie. I've noticed the swing of a college campus.
It's totally
with
changed.
Charlie now, and it's radically different, and it's so much more fun to watch. What do you attribute that to?
You know what it is? The people in this audience are smart, and they're panicking that they're not going to have a country. They're the first generation since George Washington to have it worse off than their parents. This generation is the most depressed, suicidal, anxious, drug addicted, lowest home ownership, poorest, most overweight, directionless. No, I mean, again, this is true. And also, this generation around you has something very unique. Almost everyone in this audience here had their prom canceled because of COVID. Had their graduation ceremonies canceled. Probably lost a friend to suicide because of all the lockdowns. And they are looking for a country that they can believe in, that they can live in. So I'm not going to take credit for it. These are forces greater than us. We just happen to be at the right place at the right time.
Thank you.
So you don't need to panic about the country. You just need to get out there and restore it like Charlie wants, right? Depressed, suicidal, drug addicted, directionless. That's what Charlie's talking about. What can cure that? What is the cure for that? Having a purpose larger than yourself, having an impact. We talk about it all the time at RMH. Have a purpose and drive toward it. That will give you, men, the chance to eliminate depression, sadness. You need a purpose. You need accomplishments, and you need gratitude. Notice a few things. He doesn't take the credit. That guy said, you're having such an impact. I can see the difference on campus. God used him, and God can use you. He was changing things, but Charlie didn't take the credit. He gave the glory up. Thomas Jefferson said this. By the way, when he was shot, he was wearing a shirt, and it had one word on it, freedom. Who's it up to preserve freedom? It's up to us. Thomas Jefferson said, the people are the only sure reliance for the preservation of our liberty. So who's it up to? It's up to us if we want freedom. Here's to Charlie Kirk and you men. Thank you. If you like this subject, please like, comment, and subscribe.